Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. In today's video we are going to be cutting this top that you can see right here. So I have my pattern paper already on my work table, and the first measurement I'll take is my guideline. So I'm going to come down by 1 inch. So from that 1 inch, that's where I'll start taking my measurement. So the top we are sewing in this video is an off shoulder top, and the distance from my shoulder to my chest is 7 inches. So whatever measurements I will take for this tutorial, I'm going to minus 7 inches from it. So measure the distance from your shoulder to your chest. Whatever you have is what you are going to minus from your measurement. So you can see the 7 inches on my guideline. So I'm taking the distance from my shoulder to my bust point, which is 10.5 inches, and I went ahead to rule a straight line across. Now that I have my bust line, the next line I'll take is my waistline, and the waistline is also the length of my top. So I'll take 15 inches because I don't want the top to be too long, so I'm going to take 15 inches and then I'll rule a straight line across. So on my guideline, I'll take my shoulder measurement divided by 2. So my shoulder measurement is 16 inches. I'll divide it by 2, which gives me 8 inches. I'm going to indicate that. And on my bust line, I'll take my bust circumference divided by 4, and I'll also indicate it. To create my armhole, on my guideline, I'll place my tape on my guideline and I'll come down by 2.5 inches. I'll connect the point that I have on my guideline, which is half of my shoulder measurement. I'll connect that point to meet the 2.5 inches that I came down with, just like you see me doing. Just like we create our normal armhole, I'm going to rule an horizontal line across like this, and then I'll connect that point to meet the bust measurement that I took on the bust line, just like this. And the next thing I'll do is just to create a curve for my armhole. So I'm using my curve ruler to do that. If you don't have a curve ruler, you can go ahead and use your free hand. So after doing that, this is what I have. What I'll do next is to place my waist measurement divided by 4 on my waistline, and then I'll connect from the bust line to meet the waistline. So to get this curved effect that you can see on the top, what I'm going to do is to come down from the waistline. I'm going to come down by 7 inches, just like this, and then I'll go in from the 7 inches. I'll go in by 3 inches and I'll rule a line across it, and then I'll connect from that 3 inches to meet my waistline. So after doing that, this is what I have. The next thing I'll do is to add 1 inch all the way around, but on my chest area I'll just add half an inch for me to be able to turn my lining for the top. So yeah, we are done with the front pattern of this top. For the back pattern of this top, I'll just bring out a fresh fabric and I'll place the front pattern on it. I'm just indicating my chest line, my bust point and my waistline. So what I'll do is to trace out what I have on this front pattern from the waistline. So we are going to ignore these 7 inches that we came down with. We don't need it for the back pattern of the top. So I'll just trace out the armhole, the sides and the chest line just like you see me doing. So it's that easy. And I'll remove my front pattern and then I'll just rule a straight line across the waist area and we are done. Next thing I'll do is to add half an inch all the way around. So if you want to add a zipper to this top, you can go ahead and add your zipper allowance. For me, I want to add a loop to this top, so I don't need a zipper allowance. So after cutting out, this is what I have. This is my front and my back pattern. So for the back pattern, I said I'll be adding a loop, so I'm going to reduce it by 2 inches. So I'm going to cut 2 inches out. You can cut more than 2 inches, but I don't want my back to be too open, so 2 inches is just okay for me. So after cutting out, I'll just go ahead and cut my fabric. So I've gone ahead to cut my fabric out. So for the front piece I cut out 2 because I want to use the fabric as my lining, and for the back piece I cut out 4 because I'll be using my fabric also for my lining. So if your fabric is not enough, you can use another material. So this is what I have. So I'll take one of my front piece and then I'll take 2 of my back piece. I'll place it like this, right sides facing each other, and I'll go sew from the armhole down to the waist, and I'll repeat the same thing for the second part. So this is what I have after sewing. One is the main fabric and the other one is the lining. So I'll go ahead and cut out my loop for the back of the top. So I folded my fabric into 2. The length of the fabric I folded was 1.5 inches. I folded into 2. I sewed it and I turned it inside out. So the loop I'm going to cut is 1.5 inches each. I don't know how many I want to use, but yeah, I cut out enough, and I will open up my back piece like this. And before you start placing your loop, make sure you come down by at least half an inch on the upper part and also on the down part. That way you can be able to sew your lining to your main fabric. So you can see I came down by half an inch. So I'm just going to place my loop on that half an inch line that I made, and then I'll pin it down. So after pinning down the first loop, it's left for you to determine the distance you want from one loop to the other one. So I'm using 1.5 inch. That's because I don't want my back area to be too opened. If you want yours to be open, you can take more than 1.5 inches. So I'm going to pin down my loop on this side of the back piece, and I'll repeat the same thing for the other side. As you can see, I'm done placing my loop and this is what it looks like. So I'm going to turn it over like this and I'll bring out the lining piece. I'll place it on this one like this, on the main fabric like this, and then I'll just go and sew. The only place I'll not sew on this fabric is the armhole area. I'll sew the chest line, the sides to close the loop, and I'll sew the down part except the armhole area, which I'm going to use to turn everything inside out. After sewing, I'll go ahead and give it a knot all the way around, just like you see me doing, and I'll turn it out through the armhole. And this is what I have. The next thing I'll do is to cut out my sleeves, and before I do that, I'm going to measure around my armhole like this. And what I have is 8 inches. That's what I'm going to use to cut out my sleeves. So my fabric is already folded into 4, so I'm going to cut out 2 sleeves from this fabric, and the wideness of this fabric is 15 inches and the length is 28 inches. So to get the off shoulder sleeve, I'm going to come down by 1 inch like this, like you see me doing. I'll fold in 1 inch and then I'll pin it down. That 1 inch, I'm going to use it to create my channel for the elastic, because there is elastic on the upper part of the sleeve. And from that point, I'll come down by 2.5 inches and I'll go in by 2.5 inches. Remember, we came down by 2.5 inches from the chest line while we're drafting out our pattern, so we're using the same 2.5 inch to cut out. I'll use my free hand to curve out my armhole like this, and then I'll go ahead and cut. I'll go ahead and open my sleeves like this, and on the base of the sleeve I'll go up by 7 inches and I'll make that 7 inches into a straight line. And I'll also go ahead and create the other channel for my elastic band, and I'll go up from the first channel by 8 inches. I'll also make that into a straight line. For the off shoulder part of the sleeve, I'll fold in my 1 inch, the 1 inch that I took. I'll fold it in like this and I'll go sew on a straight line. I'll also go ahead and hem the base of the sleeve, and then I'll create the channels for the other parts of the sleeve. So I first of all went up by 7 inches from the base, and then I went up by another 8 inches, which I made into a straight line, and then I folded in my off shoulder area and I'll go sew on a straight line. So I've already done that. This is my channel for the elastic for the upper part of the sleeve, and I also hem the base of my sleeve. So what I'll do is to place my elastic band on the lines that I've already made with my shock. So the first elastic band is 8 inches long, so I'm going to place it on the edge like this, and then I'll go gather on my sewing machine like this. So the first 2 elastic band, I made them 8 inches, but the one on the upper part is 7 inches. So I'll just pin it up like this. I'll repeat the same step for the other parts of the sleeves, and then I'll go gather the elastic band on my sewing machine, and I'll come back and show you guys. So after gathering the elastic band, this is what my sleeves look like. And what I'll do next is to close up the sleeve. So I'm going to fold it over like this, right sides facing each other, and then I will go ahead and measure what I have on my armhole. I'll make sure whatever I have here is what I have on the armhole of the top. So I'm just going to make a line here. So this is where I'm going to sew from. I'll close up the sleeve from that part to the end of the sleeve, and I'll repeat the same thing for the other sleeves. After closing up the sleeves, I went ahead to turn it over, and this is what I have. The last step is to attach the sleeves to the top. So what I'll do is to bring my top and I'll open up the armhole area, and then I'll place the sleeve on it, making sure that the armhole area aligns, and then I'll pin and I'll go sew. So I've gone ahead to sew my sleeve in place, and this is what I have. I went ahead to also give it a good press so everything lays down flat. So the next thing I'll do is to lace my loop. The length of the loop is 55 inches. I'll go ahead and lace it up, and that brings us to the end of this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something from this video. Please don't forget to like it, leave a comment for me below in the comment section, subscribe to my channel if you are not subscribed. See you guys in the next one.